All right, it is 6:02, so we will get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend our State Route 17 Corridor Plan Community Workshop today. My name is Sheridan Nansen from Caltrans District 4 Bay Area. Hosting with me today is Kelly McClendon from Caltrans District 5 Central Coast. We're excited to be co-hosting this meeting with our partners at Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, and Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District to share what we have been working on and get input from you all as we complete this corridor plan. We also wanted to let you all know that this meeting is being recorded. If you are uncomfortable with being recorded, you are welcome to leave and watch the recording that will be posted on our website in the next few weeks. We will have an activity later in the meeting with breakout rooms where you will not be recorded. However, when you come back into the main room after the breakout rooms, the recording will continue. We want to first go over housekeeping, meeting logistics, and interpretation instructions before getting into our presentation and activity tonight. For those of us joining today who are more comfortable participating in Spanish or Mandarin, we have provided a step-by-step guide to allow you to listen to our interpreters with steps on the screen. You should have a button at the top of your screen that says Choose Interpretation Language in blue. Click that button, then use the drop-down to select the language you would like to listen in. Pull the circular tab all the way to the right to listen in your selected language. If you have already closed out of the blue tab at the top of your window, but would like to listen in either Mandarin or Spanish, click on the three dots in the top bar that say More. Then go to Language and Speech, Interpretation Language, and then follow the steps on the screen to choose your language and turn up the volume of the interpreter. We will now show these same steps in Spanish and Chinese for those of us joining who prefer to listen and read in those languages, and we'll have them up for a few seconds each. Okay, and I think we can move to the, yeah, thank you. Great, thank you. We will now go over the Title VI Non-Discrimination Policy Statement. The California Department of Transportation, under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ensures that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to the discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Caltrans will make every effort to ensure non-discrimination in all of its services, programs, and activities, whether they are federally funded or not, and that services and benefits are fairly distributed to all people, regardless of race, color, or national origin. In addition, Caltrans will facilitate meaningful participation in the transportation planning process in a non-discriminatory manner. Related federal statutes, remedies, and state law further those protections to include sex, disability, religion, sexual orientation, and age. For information or guidance on how to file a complaint or obtain more information regarding Title VI, please contact the Title VI branch manager at 916-324-8379 or visit the following webpage. The webpage will be dropped in the chat. And we have a few more housekeeping items before we jump into the presentation. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be posted in the on the engagement portal page in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that link will also be dropped in the chat now. If you are uncomfortable with being recorded, you are welcome to leave and watch the recording that will be up on the website. We have an activity later in the meeting with breakout rooms where you will not be recorded. However, when you come back into the main room after the breakout rooms, the recording will continue. All participants are muted. If you wish to unmute, use the raise hand feature and we will unmute you. You also have the option to use the chat function to type any questions or comments you may have for our team to see and respond to. The screen shows what these buttons should look like on your end with the raise hand feature and the chat feature. And just a note, if you have an AI chatbot installed as a feature when joining virtual meetings, please turn it off to avoid inappropriate chats and potentially incorrect notes at the end of the meeting. Finally, please be respectful and refrain from the use of profanity, inappropriate comments, and questions will be removed and we will not discuss them. Now I would like to pass it over to John Ju, the Office Chief of Multimodal System Planning in Caltrans District 4.
Yeah, thanks, Sheridan. Hope everyone can hear me okay. Good evening. As Sheridan said, my name is John Shu. I'm the Office Chief for Multimodal System Planning here at Caltrans District 4 Bay Area. I'm excited to welcome everyone to this virtual community workshop for the SR-17 Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan, or CMCP. As you all know, Highway 17 is a significant corridor at the state, regional, and local levels. It is the shortest and most direct route connecting Santa Cruz and Santa Clara counties. Highway 17 carries weekday commuter traffic accessing the employment centers in the Bay Area, and also serves weekend recreational traffic visiting tourist destinations along the Central Coast and in the Bay Area. However, this corridor faces significant challenges, such as safety, congestion, multimodal connectivity and accessibility, and climate change resiliency. The corridor planning process is a valuable tool for Caltrans and our partners to chart a course for addressing these challenges. Our planning team has been working on developing strategies and improvement concepts that can guide our future decision-making. But we're at a pivotal point where we really need to hear from you. You experience this corridor every day, and you are the true experts. So we thank you for taking the time out of your busy week to attend this workshop today. We encourage you to participate and provide feedback that we can incorporate in the finalization of this corridor plan. With that, I'll turn it back to Sheridan.
Great. Thank you, John, for your warm welcome. Now getting into the bulk of the workshop, we will quickly go over the agenda before we start our presentation. So we just went over the meeting housekeeping, logistics, and welcome. Next, we will do a corridor planning team introduction, provide a presentation to get everyone familiar with the plan and what we've been working on, followed by an activity where you can provide corridor feedback and observations in breakout rooms. After the activity, we will come back and have a discussion and recap, and finally close out the meeting with next steps and answer any questions. I would like to introduce the core planning team for the State Route 17 corridor plan. The leads are Caltrans District 4 Bay Area and District 5 Central Coast for their roles in planning within Santa Clara and Santa Cruz counties. The regional transportation agencies within our technical advisory committee, and who, as a reminder, are serving as co-hosts in today's meeting, are Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, and Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District. I would like to ask the representatives of these agencies to introduce themselves now, starting with Santa Cruz RTC.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Max Friedman. I'm a transportation planner at the RTC, and I'll be helping facilitate one of the breakout rooms today.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Marino. I'm a transportation planner at the RTC, and I'll also be hosting or helping with one of the breakout rooms today.
Awesome, thanks. And I'll pass it over to VTA next.
Hi, I'm Tamika Purcell. I'm a senior transportation planner at VTA, and I'm also helping out with one of the breakout rooms.
Great, thank you. And finally, I'll pass it over to Santa Cruz Metro.
Hi, everyone. Pete Rasmussen from Santa Cruz Metro and also helping facilitate a breakout room.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. The two metropolitan planning organizations on our advisory committee are the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments and Metropolitan Transportation Commission. State agencies include California Highway Patrol, California Fish and Wildlife, and CAL FIRE. Finally, we have many local jurisdictions supporting our corridor planning effort, including the counties of Santa Cruz and Santa Clara, and the cities of Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley, Campbell, San Jose, and the town of Los Gatos. So now we want to get some feedback from you all. I will pass it over to Zach to read the first poll question.
Hello, everybody. Here's I have a let's see. Our first poll that we have is hold on one second. Here we go. Okay, first we like to get some information of just where people are tuning in from, and let me go ahead and launch this question.
Okay, it looks like we're maybe done getting responses. So Zach, can you give a quick
Okay, great.
share out? Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Let's see. Okay, we have okay, so our results that we have here. Approximately. Oh, actually, this one is pretty interesting. Okay. Uh, the majority of the respondents have responded to other location rather than where we have 17% from San Jose, 17% from Scotts Valley, 17% as well from Santa Cruz City, and then, like I said, the majority of the other attendees are saying they're in a location other than those listed.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Zach. And
Sure.
like Kelsey said, so it looks like some of y'all were not able to submit your answers, but we will write down your answers. Thank you so much for sending them in the chat. We appreciate it.
Oh, fantastic.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So we will be jumping into our presentation now. So what is a CMCP? A CMCP is the shorthand for a comprehensive multimodal corridor plan. The purpose of a CMCP is to examine the corridor's past, present, and future performance, investigate factors affecting the corridor's performance, and suggest projects or strategies to achieve the goals and objectives for the corridor. The guidance currently stems from the recently adopted California Transportation Commission CMCP guidelines that were released in December 2025 and the 2022 Caltrans Corridor Planning Process Guide, which you can see on the screen here. Another important thing to note is that a CMCP needs to be written for a corridor for projects within that corridor to be eligible for Senate Bill 1 or gas tax funded programs. In this case, that would be the Solutions for Congested Corridors program, which funds projects along the most congested routes in the state. The study area of our corridor plan is State Route 17 from State Route 1 in Santa Cruz to the I-280, I-880 interchange in San Jose, which is approximately 28 miles long. The corridor includes the highway and a half-mile buffer around the highway to include local streets as well. Within the system, we will be looking at cars, freight, active transportation, which includes biking, walking, and transit, local arterials, alternative fuels and charging, and the multimodal system as a whole. We understand that the corridor serves many functions and has many roles, which will be further explored within our plan, including interregional commute, because many people living in one county commute to the other for work, interregional freight, coastal access and recreation. As we know, a lot of people travel from Santa Clara County to Santa Cruz for weekends and in the summer, residential access, and finally, emergency response and evacuation. There are 5 goals identified by the corridor planning team to guide the development of our plan. These include enhance safety, efficiency, and reliability along the corridor, ensure that the infrastructure within the State Route 17 corridor is well maintained, creating ease of access for emergency responders needing to travel on the corridor, improve the air quality and reduce greenhouse gas emissions along the corridor, support projects and strategies that increase the efficiency of goods movement and accessibility to economic opportunities, and reinforce efficient land use policies and strategies that reduce vehicle trips and trip length, help to promote equity in underserved communities, and increase accessibility to multimodal transportation choices. There is an overarching resiliency and adaptation vision for the plan, which is to enhance the resiliency of the State Route 17 corridor by implementing projects and strategies that help to address climate change related events, especially as we have seen these types of events directly impact the corridor with greater and greater frequency over the years. Now, I'll be passing it off to Kelly to finish the presentation and explain the activity.
Sheridan. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kelly McClendon. I'm a senior planner with District 5, the Santa Cruz portion of 17 for Caltrans. I'd like to start with an important note about safety. While we're focused today on the long-range corridor planning process for Highway 17, long-range planning isn't the mechanism for how Caltrans programs safety improvement projects. We continually monitor collisions and collision statistics on the whole highway system, and when the collision statistics reach a threshold or reach beyond a threshold, we program safety improvement projects. While the long-range planning process isn't where we identify safety projects, we still identify safety as our highest priority in this plan, and amongst us and our partners, we have safety as our highest goal and objective in everything that we do. If you look at some of the statistics on the corridor, you can see that some of the issues we've got, speeding and improper turning, are pretty high above some of the other factors in terms of the primary collision factors. And so speeding is one of those potential areas where if we could reduce that through some of the recommendations or strategies that we identify in the plan, then we're hopeful that we could reduce that percentage. And that's part of the reason why we're working really closely with California Highway Patrol. We've been hearing from CHP and the patrol drivers that are out on 17 every day. And some of the techniques that we've heard from them that they find to be really effective at reducing speeding include shoulders and turnouts to give CHP and other law enforcement and emergency responders places to do their jobs. The radar speed feedback signs that you may be familiar with along the corridor that will show the speed that everyone's driving to serve as an alert for drivers to slow down if they're above the posted speed limit. And another really successful strategy is the Safe on 17 task force. So that's something that we've been Caltrans and our partners with SEC-RTC, Valley Transportation Authority, CHP, and other agencies are part of this task force where we meet regularly to coordinate, look at the trends, statistics, and activities, and collaborate on ways that we could help promote safety in the corridor, and we'll continue doing this. Next slide, please. Second to safety, the probably the most common thing that we hear in terms of challenges from the 17 users include congestion. So congestion relief is going to be one of the major focus areas to come out of this plan. The corridor exhibits a very typical commuter pattern where we have people from Santa Cruz that live in Santa Cruz that are driving northbound in the morning peak period and then southbound in the afternoon peak period. And that's what the bottlenecks that we're looking at, the specific locations of the bottlenecks, that's what those are showing. If you look at the weekend, it's a little bit of an interesting phenomenon where you have the reverse happening, where you have people from Santa Clara, the Bay Area, San Jose, and that broader region commuting to the coast, Santa Cruz and beyond for recreational trips such as the beach or the boardwalk or things like that. We've seen that that pattern is increased during the summertime, of course, because the schools are out, and then also the weather heats up in the Bay Area, where it can be 10 to 15 degrees hotter than the coast down in Santa Cruz, which helps to increase the demand for people that want to come down to the coast. Relieving congestion is one of the key funding program areas that we're looking toward. It's part of the funding that is coming out of Senate Bill 1 and the gas tax that's funding congestion relief projects. We're hopeful that some of the projects identified in the corridor plan would move on to ultimately be funded by the congestion relief program. Next slide, please. I mentioned the typical commuter weekday patterns that we're seeing, and you're probably familiar with if you're familiar with the corridor and you use it regularly. You're also probably familiar with what we call non-recurring congestion. And what that is it's congestion that results from incidents that aren't typical or they're not a pattern that we see every day. We see non-recurring congestion happen due to things like weather or crashes, vehicle breakdowns, or work zones for maintenance or for long-term Caltrans improvement projects. One of the best tools that we have as a transportation field is freeway service patrol, which we have freeway service patrol on both sides of the mountain, one side in Santa Cruz County and then another side on Santa Clara County. That you've probably seen the trucks out there. Their main objective is to clear incidents before they cause major congestion. Obviously, any incident's going to cause spot congestion, but if we can clear a wreck or a crash as soon as possible, it prevents the ripple down effect that can extend for much longer than the initial incident. So this is another area that we're looking at coming up with strategies and recommendations for tackling this as well. Next slide, please. I mentioned the typical commute pattern that we have on Highway 17. The background is that we have in our region, if you look at Santa Clara and Santa Cruz as a mega region, we have a jobs and housing imbalance where we have concentrations of jobs in the Santa Clara area and then more affordable housing in Santa Cruz and then to points further south in the Central Coast region. The jobs and housing imbalance creates the demand for Highway 17 and other corridors for people that need to get to work and school and other locations. That pattern is expected to increase or to continue as we move into the future. If you look at travel forecasts or you look at housing forecasts. And so when you think about that, combined with the reality that Caltrans and our partners are not able to feasibly add any capacity to this corridor. If you think about the geography and the topography and the terrain, it's infeasible in terms of the cost to be able to make significant capacity expansions. On top of that, we know as an industry that general capacity expansion is not a long-term solution for congestion relief. And so all of this is, I'm bringing these things up on the transit side because transit is probably one of the best ways that we can, if you think about the housing and the jobs imbalance, that we can actually move the needle in terms of decreasing vehicular demand on the corridor by shifting people from single occupant automobiles to buses. So transit's going to be one of the major focus areas for the corridor plan. And I'll talk in a little bit, I'll talk about some of the potential transit improvements that we are interested in looking into. Active transportation is, as Sheridan mentioned when she was covering the overview of the plan, this is a multimodal corridor plan, and active bikes and pedestrians are an important mode for the highway system and the overall transportation system. Thinking about 17, we know that it's not a bicycle and pedestrian corridor, but 17 serves as the backbone of an overall transportation system or corridor system that includes the surrounding local arterials to each side of Highway 17 and major multimodal hubs like transit hubs or transit stops where you've got buses and bikes and pedestrians converging together. So while Highway 17 itself isn't a bicycle and pedestrian corridor, we know that the corridor has opportunities for enhancing bicycle and pedestrian crossing, which could include enhancing crossing at existing crossings or adding new bike and ped crossings, such as the ones that at the locations where we've got existing undercrossings or overcrossings. We also want to look into improvements to the parallel bicycle and pedestrian facilities on the local network. Knowing that if short trips on the local network can be made with bicycling or walking, then it's one other technique that we have for reducing vehicle demand on the highway. And then, as I mentioned, connectivity between our bike and pedestrian trails, sidewalks, bike lanes, and things like that, and our major transit hubs, bus stops, and park and rides, and other mobility hubs. Next slide, please. And then the last key discussion topic that I'll bring up is resiliency and adaptation. Just like any location on the highway system or the transportation system in general, Highway 17 is susceptible to impacts that have been increasing due to climate change. Some of the things that we've seen historically on the corridor or near the corridor include storm damage, such as mudslides that you see on the picture here from 2022. Flooding is also historically, we've had incidents with flooding, wildfires that are nearby the highway, which both affect the highway and have implications in terms of emergency response and evacuation. And then also heat is increasing. If you look at the average summertime high temperatures, it's been increasing. And not only does that impact quality of life, but heat can impact the wear and tear on our transportation infrastructure as well. Next slide, please. Okay, we'll go into our second poll, and I understand that maybe the poll isn't intaking or isn't allowing some entries into it, so we'll open it up, but if it's not letting you enter, then go ahead and put in your response in the chat if you don't mind, and I'll turn it over to Zach to open up the poll.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Kelly. All right, here's a second question. We're looking to launch it here. Just what type of improvements would you like to see along the corridor?
Yeah, Zach, and I think if this doesn't work for some people, I'll say the silver lining of that is if you add your answer in the chat, then you could add multiple responses if applicable. And as we are collecting the responses, I see, okay, still not working. All right, we'll probably, we've got one more poll question after this, and we'll go with the chat option for that one as well. I'm seeing a lot of really good questions that are coming up in the chat. I think what we'll probably have time toward the end of the meeting after our breakout room activity to come through and talk about some of these questions. Okay. Zach, am I good to go?
Yeah, it looks like we had, well, what they did record 7 responses in here, so it's relatively light. So yeah, we'll make sure that we get people's responses from the chat. But our preliminary results show the majority, at least of the people that were able to record, 43% were said transit focused improvements were the main area of needs in the corridor, followed by congestion relief with 29%.
Zach. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
All right. A couple more slides before we go into our activity. This gives a rundown of some of the things that I've went through in the last 4 or 5 slides. The one thing I do want to mention here is unfortunately the reality of our ability to implement major transportation improvements requires a long road ahead We typically work very closely with our partners to incorporate major recommendations out of corridor plans into the regional planning process and to incorporate projects into the regional transportation plan project list. We partner together with all of our agencies to find funding to be able to move projects forward. Every step of the way can be costly, especially for big projects. So this is my chance to just mention that note for expectations management, that we're doing our planning to identify the long-range vision for the corridor, which is very helpful and necessary, but it's not in itself sufficient for us being able to implement any of the recommendations that come out of this. There's a long road ahead. But this is a necessary step of the process, and it can be very helpful for us to be able to move these projects forward. Next slide, please. Looking at the next few months of our planned timeline, we are scheduled to complete and adopt the final plan at the end of our fiscal year, which is summer, June 30th. Moving back from there, we will share a draft of the plan. What we're looking for there is we want a lot of feedback. We want everyone that's interested in the corridor to look into that draft, review it, and then give us any comments and feedback that we can address within our final plan. And then I think toward the end of the presentation today, we'll talk about our survey, which we're really excited about. Let's go into our final poll. Zach?
All right, here we go. We just want to see how would you like to stay informed about the 17 corridor plan that we have. Let me launch the poll here. There's a few choices here.
Looks like email and social is really
Correct.
good.
Correct.
Good. Okay.
I think we received, yeah, definitely that's definitely the dominant.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thanks, Zach.
Sure.
All right. I think we're running right on schedule here, and I have a series of slides that will describe the breakout room activities. So I think we're right on schedule, targeting about 6:45 to open up our breakout rooms. Next slide, please. I'll come back to this one so you can reference the geographies here. In a nutshell, we split the corridor into 4 even segments. And those 4 even segments are how we've divided the breakout rooms. What we're asking you to do is look at this map, figure out which segment you're interested in based on where you travel or where you live or work or a combination of these things. And then when we open up the room, you'll be able to join one of these. And then we've got facilitators in each room that they'll introduce themselves when the breakout rooms get started. Next slide, please. For anyone that would be more comfortable participating in a Spanish language or Chinese language breakout room, we'll have those both available as well. Those won't be divided by geography, but will be set up for the whole corridor. Next slide, please. When we open up the rooms, you'll see a pop-up that is that purple button that says View Rooms. You click that, and then another pop-up will let you choose between A, B, C, D, or the 2 interpretation rooms. And then once we get in there, it's a guided discussion that is organized by some of the discussion topics that we've talked about so far today: safety, congestion relief, transit, active transportation, resiliency and adaptation. But these are really just for guiding the discussion. If you've got feedback that's outside of these things, that's perfectly fine too. We're really, as John mentioned in his welcome message, we're really interested in hearing from you as the experts of this corridor that may drive it every single day or multiple times a day, in what you're seeing out there and how we can help. Next slide, please. There's a couple of different options for how the facilitators that are in the room will register your comments and feedback. If there's any comments that you have that have to do with the overall corridor, they may add that to a sticky note that isn't really connected to a specific location on the corridor. But if you know of a certain area that you want to make a comment for, that one specific area, it could be an intersection, an interchange, or a stretch between one road and the other, they can move that sticky note to be geographically connected to that portion of the study area. So that way, when we're reviewing our notes from the workshop, we'll know as much detail as possible, so that way we can figure out how to address it. After the breakout rooms are done, the room facilitators will give a brief summary of the discussion that took place in that room, about 1 to 2 minutes, where they'll be able to share some of the key takeaways. And then, as I mentioned, we'll open it up for any other comments or feedback or just thoughts that maybe something didn't come up in the breakout room or came to mind after the breakout rooms closed and you'd like to add that, that's fine too. And then we probably will have a little bit of time to have some Q&A. I saw some really good questions in the chat. So I think, all right, so we'll go back to this map so you can look at it and decide which one makes the most sense. And we will be opening the rooms in a few seconds. We'll have some folks that are staying in the main room if you get stuck or need extra help logging into the specific room, or if you get kicked out of a room for whatever reason, we'll help you out. So we'll hang out here in the main room. Let's see. Okay. I think, Adam, are you managing the rooms? Are you able to open them up? Oh.
Yeah, I'm able to open it. Okay, it looks like they're open right now. There you go.
Yeah, I just saw. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so go ahead and jump into a room, click the join button, and then our facilitators will be there and get the conversation started.
And if anyone is still in the room and needs help being assigned to a room, please put in the chat and I can help bring you into that room. So for some reason, Callie, it's saying that you cannot be assigned to any room. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can try to work around it.
What happened? Sorry, I had to step away real quick.
Callie asked to be moved into room A, but when I went to go assign participants, Callie's name is grayed out and says this person cannot access breakout rooms.
Never seen that. Okay. I don't see anything obvious with it's weird.
Okay.
It's weird. Oh.
We're gonna keep troubleshooting, Callie. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're not. Are you on a computer or a phone? Shit. Okay. Well, we'll probably, Callie, we'll probably have some time to in the when everyone comes back, and then we'll open up your mic so you can weigh in on the transit stuff. I've never seen that before. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that, Callie.
Yeah, and I can't see anything obvious for changing them.
There's also a 415 phone number in here that says they're unassigned. But I think if they're on the phone, they're not able to. Oh, this person can't choose a room due to their device or version of Teams. So maybe I can unmute them if they would like to verbally respond. Let me see for a second. Okay, the 415 area code, I've allowed you to unmute your mic if you would like um to speak in for what room you would like to be added into.
Hello, I'd like to contribute on the Highway 17 input.
Yes, is there a specific location of the corridor that you would like to provide input on? We have rooms in Santa Clara County and Santa Cruz County.
This would be for both counties. It's very simple. I phoned in because I had so much difficulty getting on Zoom or on getting in, so I'm on the phone.
Okay.
On Highway 17, very simply, we could just think tunnel. That's something that's totally not discussed, and that's what has been done in Switzerland and everywhere else that's advanced in straight transportation through.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will take down your comment.
Okay. Was this communicated to the whole group or just as input as a single item?
It is input as a single item, but we will take all comments into consideration for our project list and for input within the narrative of our corridor plan.
Okay. Okay. Again, the idea is more to think hugely into the future, and as has been done all across the world, is using tunnels for a safer corridor is an absolutely good operation and a good way to go.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will leave you with your mic if you want to speak again, you can, or provide another comment, you can, we'll leave your mic unmuted so you can speak again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Callie too, I can unmute your mic or give you the opportunity to unmute your mic if you would like to say anything in this bigger group, but no pressure because I know this isn't a breakout room, but want to give you the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me the chance to speak. I did put something in the comments about essentially the same thing, but I think increasing transit ridership and transit speed supports a lot of the goals they mentioned. So I'd recommend having it fall under one of those goals that exists, or make it its own thing. Just in light of how it feeds into all of these different goals. And for specific improvements, I'd be interested in better transit priority elements approaching the ramps to Highway 17 that is on both ends of the corridor, so segments A, C, and D, and maybe also think about um, bus stops or bus stations close to the freeway. So some cities have like bus rapid transit that runs the median, and there's stops that are in the median, so the bus can just pull in and out without having to go on and off a separate ramp. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you for those comments. We have written them down and we will add them to the consideration for our project list and for our narrative.
Yeah, good follow-up. For transit priority elements, are you thinking about transit priority signals, or are those just one example of other types of elements that you're thinking about?
I mean, things like priority signals or like HOV or bus only ramps to help it get across the ramp, or potentially bus only lanes in some parts.
Um, I know you mentioned kind of at both ends of the corridor, if you've got any specific locations of like if you ride the 17 Express regularly, if you've seen um, you know, where it's getting hung up at. If it's getting hung up at the same spot regularly, um, we'd love to hear about where you're seeing them. But it might be just more of a general.
Yeah, it's more of a general thing. I think you might have to look into like wherever the most delays are happening.
Yeah.
Also, speeding up
Well,
the segment within Scotts Valley, that part takes a while.
going to Caballero and back onto 17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that always feels excruciating if you're not going to Scotts Valley, which I'm not.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Well, we've got the right folks involved here. Pete Rasmussen I've seen him checking in on the chat and asking some follow-ups, and so he's with Santa Cruz Metro Planning. So thanks for the comments. If you got any other feedback, we'd love to hear it.
In regards to Highway 17 bus connecting to the airport, I've missed flights when it's delayed or late, and sometimes the delay at the Scotts Valley connection is enough time to miss a flight.
Yeah. And I know the 17 Express used to serve Mineta, but it doesn't currently. But that's the delay is one thing, but then another comment that we've gotten is to bring back that that connection to the airport, which I know a lot of people find helpful.
Yes, absolutely. The connection from bus 50 and then another bus, or no, wait, there's a couple of different connections. It's ridiculous how hard it is to get to the airport.
Well, you mean like you got to go to Diridon and then transfer and then get
Yes,
it's really not that far from there geographically, but the connections aren't maybe that easy.
it's very stressful, and as an older person, it is absolutely difficult to move your luggage and to make sure you meet your times and also get into the airport at the right place. And there's a fair amount of walking at the airport also. So it doesn't meet world standards at all. Also, for connecting to the train times is also lots of train times get missed if you have to connect to the San Francisco to go to SFO. That's critical also.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I see there's one more person in the main room who is from the public, Mike. So I will allow your mic to be unmuted. So if you would like to make a comment, you can, but do not feel pressured to. I'll just allow your mic if you would like to say anything.
Everything to say. I'm just joining in. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sheridan, in a couple of minutes, I think you and I will take our tour around the breakout rooms and give them the verbal 5-minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect. All right, I'll pop back in here in a second.
Okay, so we'll be sending the announcement for the 5-minute warning now, and then we will have people come back at 7:05 to conclude our discussion and hear what everyone else talked about in their discussion rooms. Oh, Mike, I just saw your comment. Thank you. That is noted. All right, so people should be returning in about 2.5 minutes, and we will finish our discussion. All right, we will be closing the breakout rooms in a minute or so. All right, it is 7:05. I see people are starting to return back from their breakout rooms. I'll give them maybe another 15 seconds to finish their discussions, and then I'll be closing the rooms for the share outs. All right, I will be closing the rooms now. All right. So now that everyone is back from the breakout rooms, we will have the breakout room leads share what they discussed in the rooms. So we will unmute the co-hosts, and then I guess whoever y'all decided between either the Caltrans staff or the partner agency staff, if you would like to share your update.
Hi, this is I'm Orlando Ramirez. I'm from Room A, representing the Santa Clara the top portion of Santa Clara. And a lot of our comments were uh, focused on improving bicycle connections along Stevens Creek and across 880, smoothing out the trails for bicyclists who like to ride in the area for recreational activities. We also saw some comments, or we also got some comments, and particularly for in Los Gatos, that had some where we are seeing short on-ramps to get onto the freeway, which makes it difficult to merge for those that are trying to get on because it doesn't allow the driver to there's not enough runway for the driver to accelerate, and so it kind of compromises their safety a little bit. Um, and then also had some general comments about improving some general transit connectivity along the corridor. Some of the routes having pretty far and few in between transit stops, which can make some routes rather long. And then also it's just some general congestion along Stevens Creek and along to I-280. So we definitely would like to see some congestion relief in those areas as well. So I think those are pretty much the general comments. Mostly just improving access for bicyclists, and then the other main comment being the on-ramps, increasing the length of the on-ramps in Los Gatos. I don't know if Tamiko, if you wanted to add anything else, in case I missed anything.
No, I think you covered all of it.
Okay, great. Oh, sorry. I had one of our participants in our room just mentioned a better bike connection is needed across 880 at Forest Avenue. But that's for our room, so I'll wrap up.
Awesome, thank you. And now we'll go over to room B, so either Kelsey or Max.
Can you actually unmute our participant from that room? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Mattia?
Yes, okay, so Mike has been allowed, so feel free to unmute yourself now.
All right. Hi. So I was the lone participant in room B, but I'm a planner from the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. And so I selected this particular stretch because we have a big project in this area that was actually done in as a joint project between us and Caltrans District 4. And so this is a Highway 17 wildlife undercrossing and pedestrian overcrossing project. So I was just curious how this effort with the corridor plan was going to impact that project. And it sounds like there will be additional wildlife study included with this corridor plan, and just ensuring that there's no negative impacts to the infrastructure that's going to be built in this area for wildlife undercrossings as well. And some of the people who are looking for better bike connections, we are working to build a pedestrian overcrossing that will serve bicyclists between St. Joseph's Hill and the Los Gatos Creek Trail and the El Sereno Open Space Preserve. And so that will be an opportunity to cross over. And yeah, again, this project's being done jointly with Caltrans. So I'm sure you folks all know about it. So I was just curious about that. This seems like a good way to collect public feedback. And yeah, that's our main summary. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And now we will pass it over to room C, so either Adam or Amanda.
Yeah, I'll take this. Yeah, so for in our room, we got a lot of good notes on specifically transit. Specifically, a lot of the comments were kind of focusing uh, on connections to Durian to the airport, as well as kind of facilitating faster connections when at the Santa Cruz Transit Center, as well as Durian Station at both ends of the SR-17 Express. So that was very good to hear, as well as expressing interest in possibly a 17 Express like transit traffic bypass to kind of improve times along the 17 corridor, transit times along the 17 corridor, as well as kind of addressing some of the confusing signage, as well as information on apps specifically for some of the routes that connect to the 17 Express, as well as 17 Express itself. Safety-wise, we also got some pretty good comments touching on wildlife crossing, specifically safety issues kind of with animals on the roadway. Additionally, we also kind of talked about a lack of safe turnouts, and specifically a lack of safe turnouts for larger vehicles. Our participant was actually on a SR-17 Express bus when they had to try and find a safe spot to pull over along the 17 Express corridor. And kind of gave us some good insights into that. Additionally, part of that, and also kind of tying into resiliency, discussing kind of enhanced vegetation management to kind of prohibit or prevent any debris or trees or tree branches falling into the road and blocking traffic, as well as posing a safety risk. And then also just some last comments about transit, specifically about having access to bike link lockers or just a secure storage area for bicycles in general at the Santa Cruz Transit Center. Yeah, that's if I think that captured up most of the comments. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. And finally, room D, either Paul or Pete.
Hi, I'm going to go ahead and do it for us. My name is Paul Gerges. I'm with Caltrans District 5. We got a lot of details that I'm so excited about. So to start off with, we got a lot of information also about the Highway 17 Express services, but some interesting feedback on the timetables in terms of operations, because although it is very useful depending on time of day or your particular needs, if you have other pickups that you need to do in terms of multi-stop needs, it has some challenges for using that service. So that was interesting to have the feedback. It was also reflected upon some inspiration from the tech shuttles that we see in Silicon Valley up the peninsula, and how that would kind of be nice as inspiration for maybe an upgrade to the express bus, and other such similar inspirations. Similarly, furthermore, when it comes to safety, there are some comments on the lighting. Obviously, we're in a forest, but driving late at night or early in the morning, going through the forest has some challenges because it's extremely dark, and so that brings up its own challenges of selectively placing lighting in right areas to enhance safety while being mindful of nature around us. Similar with safety, when it comes to speed management, there's general agreement that the pull-out improvements seem like a nice idea, but that brought up the concept of blind curves and how when you go around a curve, you're not really sure if there's a slowdown that you're suddenly going to be slamming on the brakes. So it kind of brought up the discussion of sight lines that could be helpful, especially because working on pullouts or shoulder widening could also increase those sightline distances. So kind of some multi benefits there. Apologies, I'm rambling now, so let me just quickly double check on a couple other items. When it came to speed management, there was a curious, yes, CHP does take down information about general crashes and, what was the conditions of the crash, et cetera, et cetera. But then the point was brought up of, is it a matter of driver experience since the corridor is challenging for even experienced drivers? So that kind of brought in the question of, what other things should we be thinking about when it comes to evaluating these crashes above and beyond just what's on the CHP report? I thought that was a very interesting takeaway as well. I'm going to leave it at last thing, and then I'll leave it, is gridlock challenges. When things get gridlocked, there's concern about evacuation routes because there's only limited options. But furthermore, when you do get gridlocked, everyone seems to take the same alternate routes, so everything's gridlocked. So it's challenging, and there's no easy answer. Okay, now I'll leave it at that. I hope I represented the information well.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. And now I'll pass it over to Kelly to give a short summary of the discussions that happened in their main room. Unfortunately, there were a few people who just were not able to be added into breakout rooms, so we had an impromptu breakout room in the main room. So I will pass it over to Kelly to summarize some of those comments.
Sorry for that technical difficulty, but I thought it gave us an opportunity for the folks in the main room to hear a little bit more. And I think what we talked about seems very in line with what the other rooms talked about, especially for transit, especially this idea of if there's a way to make transit more competitive when compared to driving an automobile, if it's more efficient or more reliable in terms of performance. But right now the buses are out there in the same congestion as everybody else. So I think that was kind of flagged as a kind of a very challenging problem that would be really great to fix. And I think we also talked about transit destinations. We talked about Mineta and serving the airport, and reliability is always important, but particularly when people have a plane to catch or even a train, if it's connection at Diridon to go up to Caltrain to other places to the north. So I think it's like it really highlights that transit reliability and on-time performance is important in general, but particularly when it comes to making those connections for flights and trains.
Awesome, thanks. And not to forget, we did have an interesting comment about adding a tunnel underneath the corridor, which is interesting. So with sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So we do want to open the floor for maybe 6 or 7 minutes. There were a couple questions and there's a lot of chats coming through. If someone would like to add more to the points that were shared out or add on to any of their comments that were dropped in the chat earlier, please raise your hand and we can unmute you. And then we'll probably wrap up at 7:27 just for some final next steps and then a thank you. So feel free to raise your hand if you would like to add anything. And we can unmute you. I'll just give you all a minute or two. And if you don't want to be unmuted, feel free to just keep adding in the chat. All of the chats will be saved. Okay, final call for raising your hand if you would like to make a verbal comment. All right. Okay. It seems like we are good there, but again, we're going for the next few minutes. So if you have any thoughts, either raise your hand or continue to type in the chat. All right. So we can go over some next steps as we wrap up our meeting. So for you all, members of the public, please take our survey to provide comments on identified projects and concepts along the corridor, or provide any more general comments or points similar to the activity that we had tonight. The survey will be open through March 25th. We are dropping the link in the chat now. We'll be emailing it out to those on our subscription list, posting the link on social media, and posting the link to our website. To translate the survey to another language, please open the survey page in Google Chrome and use the translation function, clicking the 3 dots in the upper right corner of your browser. Sorry, my cat is trying to read the screen with me. Please review our engagement portal page and sign up for our subscription list within the page to receive updates on the plan. If you have any questions or want to further comment on discussion items from the meeting today, send us an email at stateroute17ra@dot.ca.gov, and all of these links should be dropped in the chat. For the corridor team, we will incorporate feedback heard today and in the received survey responses and include the received survey responses into our project and concept list, continue writing the chapters within the plan, release our draft plan in spring, and finalize and release the final plan in summer 2026. All right. So thank you all so much for your attendance tonight and for providing input on the corridor. The QR code that is on the screen scans to the engagement portal page or our website. And the link has been dropped in the chat just a few minutes ago. Please send us an email if you have any questions.